All right, we are joined today by a special guest, VIP from the CPHL, and all other kinds of letters in there too. Goaltender, how are you, Cody Karpinski?
How,
What's going on,
how's
buddy?
it
How are you?
going, guys? Hey, not doing too bad. How about you guys?
Doing really good, really good. Excited to have you on, man. Um,
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
yeah, of course, of course. We usually have two goalies on the panel here with myself and Tanner. However, Tanner had to work today, so we're just going to replace him with you. And then it's a tryout, is really what it is. That's what it comes down to. So,
Well, if
uh,
my record in the past is any indication of how this is going to go, I don't know if it's a good thing.
so Zach from. God, it's weird to call you Zach. I'm just going to call you Jarom.
Yeah,
It's
please.
weird to call. Jarom from the CPHL. How did you get involved with that kind of thing?
Um, I think it was last season, the first season. I'm pretty sure it was something along the lines of like Anders Sorensen just shot me a text and was like, "Hey, would you mind coming out? We don't have a goalie or something for one of our teams." Um, and like I was already skating with there's a big pro group there at this point it was MB, but yeah, he just shot me a text and was like, "Hey, would you mind filling in?" And I guess pretty much they kept including me the week after, and then the week after, and I guess I just stuck or something, more or less along the line.
Guess you had an okay game.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's if I remember correctly, I think we actually got shelled really bad. like like I was real busy, and especially for these games, I'm skating in the morning normally beforehand, so I'm already kind
Oh
of
yeah.
could be tired, and for instance, last night I think they stopped counting Sparks' shots at 61, and
So
so
I was on the I
so
was on
he
the I was on the
he
Warrior
had
bench for that.
rubber for sure.
I was on the Warrior bench for that, and it got to a point where Bowl League was like, you know what, we want fucking 80, and then they stopped counting them at 60, and every time a shot went on net, Bowl League's like, fucking count it. Like they were getting so pissed about it.
Yeah, Garrett had mentioned that they had stopped counting and that they were trying. I had heard 70, and I mean how even if it was only 61, like that's more than a shot a minute at
Yeah.
that point. Like especially he they had the 5 minute overtime and then the shootout, so he was pretty busy. And I don't know if you guys had heard he went out and played a game as a forward for his men's league team
Yeah.
right
No
after.
way.
Yeah, yeah,
Hilarious.
yeah. He's a big hockey guy.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
What's it been like to hang out with guys who are in the show like Garrett Sparks? I mean, you're getting shot on by Dylan Strome, Alex DeBrincat, Patrick Kane, Jonathan Taves. I mean, I did some broadcasting for the CPHL last year, and it just kind of took my breath away that I was getting to broadcast them. What's it been like to be on the ice with those guys, to play against them, to play with them?
Yeah, no, it's super cool. I mean, for me, for some of these guys, I've been skating with them now like year 6. So like I guess if this is the right phrase, I guess like the starstruck has kind of worn off a little bit. But it's super awesome for me. I mean, just to be around like guys who are playing at the highest level in the highest league in the whole entire world. It's super surreal, especially if I somehow manage to close my eyes and get lucky and somehow stop it. So it's it's pretty cool for me. It keeps me pretty humbled, especially if I'm a little bit off, I'm quite aware because there's a puck going past my earlobe, off the bar and in or whatever. So yeah, no, it's so much fun. Like for the most part, all the guys are super awesome, and have been nothing short of, not only super nice human beings, but just super fun to play with, just because it's, it gets pretty competitive, especially, I think this next week here is the playoffs and championship. So, I think the pace will be picked up a little bit, and I mean, hell, even at the end of the games, you can see if it's a close game. It really gets quick out there, and it's super awesome to be a part of, and I'm super fortunate to be even in the same room, let alone conversation, as half of these guys. So it's pretty surreal, but I'm so happy to be a part of it, and I mean, it's just, honestly, it's so much fun. So I'm pretty damn lucky.
So
I didn't even think about it that way. That's a win-win for you. I mean, if it goes in, I mean, that's a fucking NHL player. Of course it's gonna go in. But if you make the save, you're like, fuck yeah, I made the save. Of course I did. Like, it's a win-win.
Yeah, it can be pretty humbling. I mean, as goalies in general, you kind of know when, if you mess up, or don't have a good game, or even if you screw up just once, that little red light goes off, everyone cheers, and everyone is quite aware when you mess up. But just the line, and the fine line that you kind of have to teeter with, between like staying honest and being reading the play. If you're too far ahead, you get somebody goes backhand cheese off the bar and makes you look stupid that way. And if you're too far behind, they slide it over to a guy for a one timer, just jams it down your throat. So it's super fun. Also, like, super not fun in the sense, I'm getting scored on some of these times, like 9-10 times. So I mean, like, my dad and stuff will come to the game, and with my grandpa, who's getting kind of older, so it's cool for him to be able to watch me at home, and especially with some of the other guys on the ice. But yeah, he's like, yeah, what happened? You gave up 10 goals, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I had 3 buzz my earlobes, and right off the bar from about 10 feet out. So I don't know how much there was I could do on that one. So, but yeah, no, it's super cool. And I mean, you try to treat everyone, I guess, the same when it's coming down. Cause I mean, essentially, as a goalie, I mean, it's like the simplest job in theory, just stop the puck, keep it out of the net. But it's so complex when everything gets involved. And I mean, especially with, the guys at the highest level, because things are so fast, and I mean, if you give them an inch, somehow they find a way to make you look stupid. So yeah, no, it's super cool. And yeah, I try not to be too hard on myself, especially because, it is summer. I'm not, I'm not trying to I guess, get the confidence or whatever, get rolling here in mid-July and early August. So, yeah, and you try to keep it, I guess, play the next puck, or, next shift or next play or whatever, and just try to, if you do get scored on, your 9th, 10th, 11th time or whatever, you're like, oh, all right, well, it's summer. And, that guy got 30 in the NHL last year. I'm not too worried about it.
Was it demoralizing at all to see that 3-on-1 where DeBrincat scores and on you, and it's just consistently on all these social media, and you can, like, DeBrincat's going like 50% out there?
The funny thing about that was so I've got the gray jersey, which is, a mess in its own, because, it's got my name on it, whatever. But I've been playing a lot with the Centric Wealth team, the red team.
Yeah.
And so even for that, they're like, "What is he doing? Is he scored on his own net?" And it's like, yeah, guys, that's exactly what's going on.
That's
Alex DeBrincat doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, right. Guy puts up how many points in the NHL and shooting on the wrong net. No, for that it was, I kind of joke around with, the people running the social media, and it's like, oh, what's the guy got to do to crack the top 5? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in it. It's just not in the way I want to be. But yeah, no, it's not demoralizing at all. I mean, you had, freaking DePauli set that up, and I think Carrick or whoever one touched that over or whatever to the Brinkett. So and if you really want to get technical, I got a piece of it and I was really frustrated. I was like 3 inches away from getting the whole thing. So, it's a guy like that, especially is he scores, how many times on, NHL veteran goalies. And so it's, I try to, just take a deep breath and be like, whatever. It's, plus it's a 3-on-1. Like if I somehow get a hold of one, on a 3-on-1, like, hey, good for me. Like,
you're just like, where's the fucking D? Where's the D at?
Yeah, right. And it's like it's like half the time they're still kind of hanging by the blue line or, they're changing. But I mean, it's like, and I'm obviously not the only goalie who sees that, like every goalie out here in the CPHL is dealing with the same problem. So, I say that's not problem, but it's again, it's summer hockey.
There's no back checking.
Yeah, and I'm not expecting them to, and I mean, if I want to be selfish and say, it helps me be a little bit more patient on my feet or, whatever, if I somehow make a big save or whatever, it pumps my tires a little bit. Yeah, sure,
but I don't think that way.
but yeah, I mean, again, if Alex DeBrincat scores on me, especially on a 3-on-1 from, 2 other guys who are, in the NHL, I'm not really too worried about it. But it was just funny, like how it just popped up over like site after site after site after site, and like you're going through like your Instagram or whatever Explore page, and I saw the video like reposted like 3 or 4 times, and I just laugh. It's like it's super cool that I'm in it, but it sucks that I'm getting scored on. So
so obviously it's a lot of fun out there. I mean, any really good chirps getting thrown out there? I mean, I gotta imagine there's got to be some good ones.
Oh yeah, I like last night, one of the guys kind of on accident rode somebody off and ended up hitting him pretty hard behind the net. And just like this stuff that happens behind the play. And then, like, especially like you'll have a guy who, is an NHL regular, like, get two-handed by, maybe a guy that isn't, and you'll just hear, "You fucking pigeon," or whatever, something like that. And so it's just, and I'm sitting back there just laughing at the whole entire thing. But yeah, no, it's been pretty clean. And I mean, for the most part, it's been like playful banter. Like I've known Bolig for a couple of years now, and he hopped on his first game. I think that was last week, and he was giving it to me every time he would skate by, or however he decides to get around the ice, because it's not really skating. But no, I'm kidding. Bolig's great, but yeah, he was giving it to me pretty good. He was in my ear pretty much the whole entire time, and yeah, it's fun. I mean, you can, for the most part, everyone's out there having a good time, and it can get, pretty back and forth, but it's, for the most part, it's all just playful banter. There hasn't been like too much serious chirps or anything, but yeah, just the occasional "you fucking pigeon" or something like that, just kind of in the background, always makes me laugh, just because I see the play develop, or what happens behind the play while everyone's focused on the other end or whatever, and it's just funny.
So I got a question to ask now that we got 2 goalies here that still are actively playing. When you go to like goalie camps and all that, do they like teach you guys about dancing in the crease? Because I'm watching you every week during the CPHL. You're dancing to the music. Poetz is a big dancer in the crease. Like, is that like day 1 stuff at goalie camp?
No, that's just a weird thing that they do.
Apparently, like, again, my dad and grandpa have been coming pretty frequently. I think they've been actually to every game, and then I've had a couple of friends, show up to these games, and they're like, they're like, oh, who's that dancing goalie? And I'm like, oh God, I've already made a reputation for myself. Dancing goalie, right? But I don't know. It's just, I always like to have as much fun, especially, in these, I'm squirting water at people behind the glass and stuff. And, just trying to get my mind off not being scored on 11 times in a game. But yeah, no, I think, I think you're playing best just in general when you're relaxed, and I think it's like Bill Murray, like you do everything better when you're relaxed. So, if I can, dance a little bit, get loose a little bit and bob my head if they're playing good tunes. I don't know. The last couple of weeks have been kind of suspect, but yeah, no, I think it just makes things fun, and it's fun for the people who are there because they're like, oh, look at that big dumb idiot with all that gear on, he's dancing, and it's like, yeah, it's just me here in a turtle shell. So yeah, it's no, it's fun, and I mean how it can keep you kind of focused. I mean, just for me personally, I think I play best when I'm not thinking like at all, just kind of going with it. So it can kind of keep you busy, if you will, if that's the right phrase. So
I agree. I feel like so many times people are, they think goalies are so serious and everything. I mean, you look like, guys like Ron Hextall who are two-handing Chris Chelios in the throat. You got to have some goalies that are throwing some dance moves in there, keeping it real. So, you
yeah, I think it was like,
you played on Lindenwood University, did you not?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, Nolly and I played on Robert Morris University, so we're probably going to have to cut this interview a little bit short because I don't know if we could talk to you for too long.
If it makes you guys feel any better, my roommate and I both had got injured our freshman year. I broke my leg, and my roommate separated his shoulder, dislocated his shoulder. It was like all the way up to his earlobe. In the same game, which just so happened to be against RMU, it was like the very last regular season game. So, yeah, and it kind of ruined our hopes for nationals that year. But if that makes you guys feel any better.
Well, you ended up winning the whole thing a couple years later, did you not?
Yeah, I think that was my junior year. We had obviously just a great team, and everyone bought in at the right time. And I mean, just I remember we had like a preseason game or an exhibition game against like the NA, the junior blues team there in Springfield. And I remember, this kid, I think he was a freshman, that my junior year, I think. And, yeah, and I'd gotten a shutout the first game. We played 2 exhibition games, but yeah, I got a shutout, and I just remember in the last minute, this kid as a freshman is like laying down blocking shots, and come to find out that he hadn't won a cup in like 8 years, and he's out there like laying out for me, and I'm like, oh wow, like. And like everyone makes fun of goalies, because they're like, oh yeah, he's insane. But like that guy is going out there blocking shots like without a cup on, like he's the crazy one. But yeah, it was just like I guess a storybook ending to our season. It was a great group of guys, and I still talk to the majority of those guys pretty much, at least like once a week, through one form or another, whether it be a text or a little snap here and there. And yeah, it was super cool, and yeah, I was fortunate enough to win it. It was actually in Chicago, so majority.
Yeah, hosted by RMU, but whatever.
Yeah. So it was really cool, and yeah, I was very fortunate to be just even there, and have things end up the way that they did, and especially in my hometown, it was pretty, I guess in the traditional sense of the word, awesome. Like it was unbelievable, and it's something I'm always going to remember.
Where do you have the ring at?
The ring, both of my championship rings are right next to each
Whoa.
other.
Whoa, take it easy over there. Whoa.
Yeah, this season kind of got ruined, but I was 2 for 3 in my last three. So, but no, they're just they don't leave the case. I'm not a big like traditional jewelry guy. Like, I wear this one bracelet. It's like it helps clean up the oceans, and that's about the only jewelry I'm wearing. So I'm not gonna pull out a big ring. But yeah, it just stays in its case, and I dust it off here and there, make sure the case looks nice itself, make sure the light isn't burnt out, and yeah, it just it stays basically right on top of my dresser and doesn't move. Yeah, I'm not too big on showing it off, but yeah, it was cool to wear. I think the last time I wore it was at like my college graduation or something. So.
What was it like playing with Mikey Lozano? Nolly and I know Lozo for quite some time. What was it like playing with him?
Eeyore? No, no. Lowe's is honestly, he was if he was bigger, yeah, he wouldn't have ended up at Lindenwood. He was so smart, and he was like one of those guys who didn't say much, but whenever he did open his mouth, or whenever he did have something to say, everyone listened. Versus me, where I'm always trying to talk to everyone, whatever, being a loudmouth idiot in the locker room. Lowe's was definitely way more quiet, way more reserved, and yeah, no, he was great, and I think he actually scored the game winner, I want to say, against Iowa State.
Yeah, me and Poets were at the game, and I looked at Poets like halfway through the second. I was like, Lozo's getting the game winner tonight, guaranteed. And I was like, yep, sure shit, he does.
Yeah, no, I mean, he just that whole season he had like I think he got like close to like 15 or 20 goals or whatever that season, but I mean a good majority of them were definitely like game winners or like big goals. It wasn't like he was just tapping in an open netter or stuff like that. No, it was he was just always seemed to be at the right place at the right time, and would just bury. And yeah, Mike is he's a great guy, and his family's super awesome as well. And again, like being from Chicagoland, it kind of helped us gel pretty quickly, I would say. So yeah, he's an awesome kid, and I think he's actually I think he's headed back for his 5th year. I think coming up, he's going to be a master's student or something, and I think he's going to play still, or play like for a semester or something with his eligibility. However long he can play, he's going to, which I think is awesome. So
I feel like he's been there for about 20 years now. So I don't know if he's getting his doctorate or what.
Hey, I mean, isn't the average now like isn't it 5 years? Like, you got to take that senior victory lap or whatever.
There you go.
Yeah, lots of people go to school for 8 years.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're called doctors, but yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, no, he's again. I can't say enough good things about Lowe's. He's an awesome guy, and I mean I respect the shit out of him, and he's a great hockey player.
I play men's league with him now, and I can't wait to call him Eeyore when I see him. I'm so excited.
that was like I forgot how that came up. Obviously on teams everyone gets their nicknames, but I mean Lowe's the Eeyore thing was very like that was very very few and far in between he would ever get called that. Number one, it's just like you don't ever disrespect Lozo, but it's but yeah, it was kind of just like his temperament, and like you couldn't even if you were super mad at him or whatever happened or
right.
He fucked up or something happened that you wanted to yell at him, it's like you couldn't, because it's just he's kind of like Eeyore, be like and so yeah, but yeah, that's I think I heard that. Yeah, I think probably my junior year. I think, and I can't remember who I heard it from, but yeah, it stuck like immediately. Just the exact same temperament, and it's fitting, except for the fact that like you are in actuality is like the lazy whatever, and Lowe's couldn't be farther from lazy. So
Right.
but just as far as like his temperament and
Right.
like yeah, it was perfectly fitting for him.
Hilarious. So, what was the transition like going from Lindenwood to playing professionally? How did that transition end up going for you? Because I know you ended up going to the Fed.
Yeah. So for me, that my senior year, right after I graduated, I went to actually NHL development camp with the Blues, and did really well there, and was hoping something would come through there, maybe with like one of their affiliates or whatever. I had pretty high hopes, and was in decent contact with a bunch of their people, and obviously nothing came of it. And I'd started the season in Mississippi. I went to camp, main camp with Mississippi River Kings when they were still around. I think I had gotten cut the first regular season day or whatever. Came back to St. Louis, was fortunate enough to train with my goalie coach, to keep me on the ice, and work out actually at Lindenwood. So I was in shape. And then I was kind of scrambling because it was like, it was October was over and I wasn't playing, didn't have a team. I was just skating. And then, November came around. And I was just, at that point I was cold calling literally every single coach in, the ECHL and the SP, and, just trying to get something. And then, I ended up e-bugging for the Indy Fuel. And then as soon as I got back, pretty much from that, I'd gotten, it was in like Quad City, I want to say, when they were still around. It was like 3-3. Came back, and then like a week later, actually like flew out to, what is that, Utah, in the coast. I dressed up and backed up for, what was that, Rapid City, for another 3 games. Went from, after the second game, they were having some like guys, called up, moving up and down, and they were having some issues there, and they're like, all right, you're going to get a PTO, like, be ready to go for the 3rd game. And I'm like, oh, fucking sick. Awesome. Like, maybe, I'm getting some game time and, do well and get a contract. But, so the 3rd game of the 3-3 rolls around, and, they ended up getting a guy back, and I'm, I went from possibly starting to not even dressing. And then, yeah, so on my way home from that 3-3 weekend with Rapid City, I had gotten a call, and literally the day I got back, it was like December 23rd or whatever it was, I drove out to Watertown, New York, and yeah, it kind of just went from there, and ended up, fortunately for us, winning that season, and yeah, it kind of worked out for me. But the transition, so I've been training with the Hawks. I think it's my 6th year now. So I would say it wasn't. It's hard to explain because it's a totally different game versus especially the ACHA to the Fed. And I mean, even that season, that summer, going to NHL development camp, you're with, I was with, like Jordan Cryu, like Tage Thompson was still with the Blues at that point.
Yeah.
Like a couple of, other, big name guys, and, I did really well there. And then, this summer again, come back to Chicago, and again, I'm fortunate enough to be able to train and work out with a bunch of the Hawks guys. So, I kind of, I don't want to say get accustomed to it, but you kind of get used to the speed of things when all you're skating with is NHL guys, and
right.
And then it was for me, the most difficult part was starting off the season and then having that like month and a half long, I guess, gap, if you will, between teams, where it was I was just basically skating with my goalie coach, and which was amazing. And I mean, he the only reason that I was able to even play that season. Just he was keeping me on the ice and let me come out and skate it whenever I could. And but yeah, that was I think that was the biggest adjustment for me, was just kind of getting back into the timing, because there's practice shape and then there's game shape, and they're two totally different things. Even in the lower minor levels, like especially like the Fed, it's I would call it more of like a grenade explosion league. And it's like, it's not so much that things happen on purpose. It's like, a guy will throw a puck off the glass and, it hits a stanchion, and then you just basically got to play the explosion from there.
Right.
And yeah, that was just like an adjustment. Again, not being too far ahead. Like you can't over predict things just because like you have no idea what's going to happen, especially after that, after that quote unquote grenade goes off. So yeah, that was the toughest thing for me, especially just getting into the game shape and getting the speed and the timing and everything back after, having that month and a half off was the toughest part for me, for sure.
And where are you going to be playing next year?
I don't know yet, actually. I've been trying to, at least get an ECHL camp. If not, try and sign somewhere, in some place. I feel like that's, kind of in my wheelhouse, and I think I'm more than capable of, playing and doing well in that league. And yeah, so I've just been kind of testing the waters and, trying to sneak my way into camp somewhere, and, maybe working on tryout and go from there. But as of the moment, nothing's set in stone. So I'm kind of twiddling my thumbs and waiting until I have to, sign somewhere, wait until I get something in writing.
Cool. Well, we're rooting for you, man. And we really appreciate you coming on. Honestly, it's nice to have some goalie talk with somebody who actually knows what they're talking about, other than Tanner. So I really do appreciate it. And once again, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no problem, guys. It was my pleasure. It was a good time. It's cool to be able to talk to, other hockey people about hockey stuff, and especially goalie stuff, because we're all weirdos. So it's, it was awesome. Again, thanks again, guys. I appreciate it.